Well, hello there. Did you hear that due to a pork shortage, that butchers in Maine are making sausage from seabirds? Think about it. Some are taking a turn for the worst. You saw that one coming, I know. But this not worshiping together has also felt like a sacrifice and taking a turn for the worst, as has been our staying at home and our consistently wearing facial masks whenever we're out in public among other people. And these are all concessions not only for our own health, but an act of love towards our community and for others and for their health. And doing these things is not a political statement, it's simply simple love. You know that in Michigan, even with the closings and the stay-at-home orders, that the restricting of religious gatherings has been specifically omitted from those orders from the very beginning. Churches have been always allowed to continue to meet, but most have not. And as you know, we too, recognizing that large meetings and gatherings are strongly not recommended, we too have voluntarily agreed, knowing that our testimony and our respecting our community is more important than our meeting together. You know that the second greatest commandment, after the one of loving the Lord our God above all else, is to love our neighbor as ourselves. And Paul in Philippians 2 writes, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, consider others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each looks to the interests of others." And so our right to meet in worship is surpassed now by our love for our neighbor. And that's all very well, but yet we wonder, well, how long are we going to be doing this? I mean, it's already been 10 weeks now. When and how will we resume some form of worship on Sundays? And some are very eager to get together, and others that know of their own significant risks are cautious enough to know that even when we do resume, they're not going to be joining us for worship or for any other public gatherings for some time. And I too am both eager to resume and at the same time not, both for different reasons. But as we approach the time when we might potentially begin to consider resuming worship, we are working with these three criteria. The first is being allowed. I mean, we will continue not taking advantage of the state exemption for religious gatherings, and in respect for the gathering restrictions that the community is observing, we will not open our public gatherings until we are allowed, but even then we will still abide by whatever size restrictions we have. So the first criteria is being allowed. The second criteria is being appropriate. Even when the time comes, when it is allowed, we will be still remembering that size restrictions are important to appreciate. And that when will it be still appropriate for us to resume? When will it be wise for us to be inviting our neighbors or our members, our community to consider attending a worship service? And what message are we sending to our congregation and community when an invitation is offered? Like other Christian Reformed pastors in the area, I'm of the opinion that the church should probably be more cautious than society. I mean, because we don't want any of our congregations being the cause or location for community spread in Fremont. So first, being allowed. Second, being appropriate. And then third, being ready. I mean, ready on the one hand with protocols for physical distancing and cleaning and sanitizing and seating, spacing and safety precautions and all that kind of stuff. But also we are amidst to purchasing live streaming hardware and technology, and it needs to be shipped and then it needs to be installed and we need to be trained for it and we need to be ready because we expect that when we resume, we will then, at that time, replace our recorded services with our live streamed services from the sanctuary on Sundays. So all that, we need to be allowed, things need to be allowed, things need to be appropriate, and things need to be ready. But even so, when we do resume, we might do so first with some smaller house groups and in watching the recorded services and then going to the live streaming. But still, what can be expected? Well, a number of things. One, for example, smaller numbers. I mean, there's going to be size restrictions. Maybe 25 or 30 or 40 might be the limit. And there'll be many who are reticent and rightly so, hesitant and cautious about wanting to come back to a large gathering, and that's to be respected. But we also need to have and observe guidelines, such as I said, physical distancing and cleaning processes. But third, you also are probably going to need to bring your own Bibles, because we won't be using the Bibles, the public Bibles in the pew. We'll also likely have a shorter service, because reduced time equals reduced exposure. And there will likely be no heating or air conditioning running that would be recirculating our air, but we'll likely have the windows wide open and the large ceiling exhaust fan that's at the top of the sanctuary ceiling. Maybe some of you didn't even know it was there. We will have that exhaust fan running, evacuating air from the sanctuary and pulling fresh air in through the windows. And here's another thing. Very likely, there will not be any singing. I mean, singing is understood to expel significantly more tiny aerosolized particles of virus than simply speaking does. Apparently, singing is right up there with sneezing and coughing and contributing those little aerosolized particles into the collective air. And just as you wouldn't want everyone in church coughing at the same time or sneezing at the same time, so also singing, although it would be a lot nicer, wouldn't be any better. But all of this is to say, whenever it is that we do finally resume, it will still be some time after that before we find it more fully satisfying. The church, however, remains the church, whether we're filling the pews or watching online. And I certainly long for the day when we can all be together again. And frankly, for me, this preaching to a computer screen or a computer camera in an empty sanctuary is quite awkward and personally and pastorally rather unsatisfying. I mean, God made us to be in community, and the bodily fellowship of brothers and sisters in Christ is priceless. And that day will come again, but it will take some time. Until then, and of course forever, God takes care of us. So hey, let's feed the fish, as we want to do. Let's feed the fish, and as we watch them, you could think about sending me your various sausage jokes. But friends in Christ, the peace of Christ be within your homes and within your hearts. And we'll speak again soon.